Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Don't say polo. Don't say polo. Thank you. Let me begin by just saying this. Politics is a difficult business, and people get into this process of elections and they get competitive, and sometimes it gets a little rough on the edges and people say things about each other. I don't like the negativity, and I don't like kicking people when they're down. And so let me just say this. I just think it's unfair that I am continually mocked as a Dolphin fan, 5-8, with all these references to Tom Brady, okay? Enough already. Let's have a clean campaign. We're 5-8, okay? Are you happy? Gosh. No, you're... Come on. We shall return. Like when Brady's 50 and finally retires, then we'll return. We'll be back. All right. And quarterback the Dolphins, that's not going to happen, guys. Thank you so much. Somebody said squish the fish. What is the most nastiest hecklers here. Thank you very much for coming out today. I'm really grateful. I'm so exhilarated about this campaign, and it's great to be back with you. And next week we're going to be back for another 3 days here in New Hampshire. And we love interacting with the voters here because this election is so critical for the future of America. You're going to hear that all the time, right? Every election, and you get them every 4 years here, right? Every election is the most important election in our lifetime. So I actually believe that that's the case, but let me phrase it to you a different way. This is by far the most important election of this generation. And the reason why is because what's at stake here is our identity. About a week ago, I saw a poll, not a political poll, and it asked, is the American dream alive or dead? Over 50% of millennials, that means young Americans born since the year 2000, said they believe the American dream is dead. That's not just a troubling line in a poll. That is a warning sign for America. Here's why. Because if the American dream dies, or people start believing the American dream is dead, that means America is no longer a special country. Every country in the world has rich people. We're grateful for the fact that we have people that have been financially successful. We are the party that celebrates financial success. And but what makes America a special place is not that we have rich people. It's that we have millions and millions and millions of people that aren't necessarily rich, but they have a job that they enjoy and pays them well, that pays them enough to own a home in a safe and stable neighborhood, that pays them enough to enjoy the activities they like doing with their family, that pays them enough to raise their family and retire with dignity and leave their children better off than themselves. That is the American dream. That is the real American dream. And if we ever lose it, we stop being a special country. And people think it's dying. And why do they believe it's dying? They believe it's dying because they open up the newspaper every day and they read about how great the economy is doing according to Barack Obama. But it doesn't feel like it for them. It may be the case that Fortune 500 companies and Wall Street is having record years. But for the rest of America, they are still struggling. They haven't had a raise in over a decade. Things cost more, but their paychecks haven't kept pace. We have young Americans that went to college and got a degree because their whole lives they were told. Their whole lives they were told, if you go to school and get a degree, you're guaranteed at least the American dream, if not more. So they did. They even borrowed money to pay for it. Especially true if your parents made too much money so you can't get financial aid, but don't make enough to pay for school, you get stuck with these loans. And the result is people are, small businesses that are struggling to stay open. And the result is people are starting to feel like, you know what, this hard work and perseverance are no longer enough. You have to get lucky. You have to know the right people. If we lose the American dream, we stop being a special country. And so one of the first things we have to do is, in the next presidency, is we must do everything possible to help restore and expand the American dream. And that begins by embracing free enterprise. It is the greatest economic system in the history of the world. You know why I love free enterprise? It is the only economic model in the history of the world where you can make poor people richer without having to make rich people poorer. It is the only economic model in the history of the world where everybody can be better off. Presidents do not run the economy, at least not in a free enterprise system. Politicians do not run the economy. The job of those of us in public service is to put in place policies that allow the private sector to succeed, because it is the private sector that creates jobs and opportunity. Today, we don't have those policies. And so domestically, one of the top priorities of the next president is to put in place policies through tax reform and regulatory reform and balancing our budget and fully utilizing our energy resources and repealing and replacing Obamacare. If we do these things, the American private sector will take care of the rest. The American private sector will make America the easiest place in the world to create better paying jobs, and they will create those better paying jobs by the millions. Those jobs will require more skills than the jobs we are leaving behind or the jobs of the old economy. So we also need to search out ways to make it faster and cheaper to get the skills you need for a better paying job. That means making college cheaper and more affordable. That means creating alternatives to student loans. That means opening up the door to higher education for people that have to work full time and are raising a family. That means more vocational training. Why did we stop teaching people to be welders and plumbers and pipe fitters and airplane mechanics? We need more of that. If we put in place policies that make America the best place in the world to create 21st century jobs, and we make it faster and easier for people to acquire 21st century skills, we will have an economic renaissance. The 21st century economy will be better and more prosperous than the economy we leave behind. And the job of government is just to put in place the conditions for that to happen. The private sector, made up by many of you here today, if not all of you, will take care of the rest. The one thing Here's the one thing the federal government has to do. The one thing the federal government has to do is keep us safe. And we had a debate last night that was actually substantive. It got into the guts of some of these issues. And there are some differences between the candidates. Look, I like everybody that's running for president on the Republican side. I really do. None of them is a socialist. None of them are being investigated by the FBI. And if, God forbid, Hillary Clinton is elected, we're all going to be audited by the IRS. So, look, including you, by the way. But there are differences. And one of the ways where you find differences is on national security. And this is an important thing for us to talk about. It's not personal. It is a valid point. Let's look at the world today, because it's very dangerous. We'll talk about ISIS in a moment, but let's line up the world. You have a lunatic in North Korea. There's no other way to describe him. He's crazy. But he has 24 nuclear warheads and missiles that can reach long range, including potentially the United States. The Chinese are undertaking the most rapid military expansion in the history of mankind. That means they are building their military up faster than any nation has ever done during a time of peace. And they're not just doing that to cooperate with us in international affairs. They're doing it to take over the South China Sea, to blow up our satellites, to hack into our computers, to blow up our aircraft carriers. They've developed a $4 million rocket that can destroy a $4 billion aircraft carrier. The Russians are governed by Vladimir Putin, who's sowing instability in Europe and in the Middle East. Iran is governed by a radical Shia cleric who's about to receive $150 billion of sanctions relief from this president. $150 billion that will not be used to build bridges and roads and schools. $150 billion will go to doing the following: sponsoring terrorism, either buying or building a nuclear warhead of their own, and continuing to develop their long-range missiles. You know, just yesterday in the news, it came out that they tested a missile 3 weeks ago. We now know it was a ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. There's only one reason to build a ballistic missile. They're not going to put a man on the moon. They're building a ballistic missile because they want to put a nuclear warhead on it that is capable of reaching Europe and ultimately the United States, and then they can hold the world hostage. These are real threats, and then you add to that the risk of radical jihadists, an apocalyptic group in ISIS. Why do I say apocalyptic group? Because you understand how they recruit their fighters? ISIS says to their fighters this, that according to their interpretation of prophecy, there is going to be this final Armageddon-style showdown in the city of Dabiq in Syria, where the Western armies are going to come in and we are going to defeat them. And when we do, we will establish a global Sunni caliphate. And when we recruit you to join us, it is to join this glorious army that's going to accomplish this. And why is it important for us to know this? Because when people are motivated by apocalyptic visions, they are not easily defeated. That means they're not going to go out of business. That means they're not doing this because they're disgruntled or unemployed. They're doing this because they have a view of the future that's very different than ours. They believe it. They're true believers in this cause. They will not be easy to defeat rhetorically. They must be defeated ideologically and militarily. First, we have to have the capability to do it. All this talk, I mean, it's easy to stand up and say, I will destroy ISIS. I will make the sands in the Middle East glow in the dark. Well, that's fine. But you have to have something to do that with. And you can't do that with the oldest and the smallest Air Force in the history of this country. And that's what we're going to have. These budget cuts... These budget cuts that we are already facing, the budget cuts that are in place now, will already leave us with the smallest army we have had since the end of World War II, with the smallest Navy and the oldest Navy we have had since 1915, with the smallest and oldest Air Force we have ever had. Does this make any sense? The world is growing more dangerous and we are weakening our capabilities militarily? And that's what we're doing now with the cuts we are facing now. Does it make any sense to support even deeper cuts, as some running for president have? This is not a game. It is not enough to just say how tough you're going to be. What are you going to be tough with? You have to have the military capability to do it. And here's one more thing I would point out. Every time this country has reduced military spending like this, it has had to come back later and undo it, and it costs more money, and it's more chaotic to do it later. It's also unfair to our men and women in uniform. We make them a promise. Thank you. You know what happens when you take an army from 500,000 and reduce it to 420,000? Longer deployments? More reliance on the National Guard? That's what happens. The inability to confront a rapid crisis quickly? These are the kinds of things, these are real life implications of this. And it makes no sense, but this is exactly what's happening. And it makes no sense that people in our own party, the party of Reagan, the party of strong national defense, have lined up to support these sorts of things. That's one of the first things I'll do as president. We will reverse this. And here's the main reason why I'll reverse it. Because military weakness is an enemy of peace. There are no more peaceful people in the world than us. Here's another difference in this campaign. We have to have enhanced intelligence capabilities. These people we are dealing with are sophisticated about this stuff. ISIS and other terrorist groups around the world, they do not use carrier pigeons to communicate. They use the latest, greatest technologies, encryption, which is they communicate with each other in a way that no matter the FBI, nobody could hack into and break into the stuff to see who they were talking to or what they were talking about. These are real challenges that we're facing. And we need to have more tools at our disposal, not less tools. Now, I want you to know something. Of course I support civil liberties. I grew up and was raised in a community of exiles, of people that lost all civil liberties in the island of Cuba. And if an American in the intelligence agency is ever caught unlawfully accessing intelligence information or spying on law-abiding Americans, they should be fired and prosecuted. That's the law now. Here's what I also know. If, God forbid, today there is a terrorist attack on our homeland or anywhere in the world, the first thing everyone's going to want to know is, why didn't we know about this? And why were we not able to stop it? And the answer better not be because we took away a valuable tool in the toolbox. This is not a time to reduce intelligence. This is a time to increase it. And we can do it in a way that respects the civil liberties of Americans. But does it make any sense to you that the Food and Drug Administration, the IRS, the EPA, or your local law enforcement can access your phone records quicker, faster, and easier than our intelligence agencies could look at the phone records of a terrorist? Because all they have to do is issue a subpoena. For the intelligence agency to look at anything, they have to go to a privacy court and prove that you're reasonably suspected of being a terrorist. They have to get approval to be able to do that already, before they made all these changes. This is not a game, as I said earlier. The threat we face is extremely significant. We have never seen a group like this, sophisticated in their understanding of our legal immigration system. Most Americans didn't even know there was such a thing as a fiancé visa until somebody came here on one and joined up with her husband, an American citizen born and raised in this country, a health inspector with a newborn child, and massacred 14 people, wounded 20 others, and planned to do a lot more had it not been for the bravery and the courage of those men and women in law enforcement in California. People like to talk about, I made this promise, that promise, the other promise. Let me tell you the most important promise someone running for president must always make. And that is, I will wake up every day and spend every second, minute, hour, day, month, and year in the presidency doing everything I can to keep you safe. It is our highest priority. And these two issues deal at the heart of what's going on in this campaign. This has been an extraordinary privilege for me. You know, yesterday, the debate was in Las Vegas. I lived there for 6 years as a child. Two things struck me. The first is, we were at this hotel, a very nice place called the Venetian. And it reminded me of my parents. My parents worked at Las Vegas hotels. My father is a bartender, my mother is a maid. And I thought to myself, what an extraordinary country. That the son of a bartender and a maid in a hotel in Las Vegas could one day come back and have the same dreams and the same future as the son of a president or the sons of millionaires. What an incredible place where these things are possible. And the other thing it reminded me was of my grandfather. My grandfather lived with us almost all of our lives before he passed away at 13. When we lived in Las Vegas, he lived with us for about 9 months out of the year. And he would sit in the front porch of our home, not a very big porch, on this folding aluminum chair. He would smoke one of his 3 daily cigars, as most 80-year-old Cubans do. And I would love to hear his stories. He was a great storyteller. He loved history. He grew up. He used to work at the cigar factories. He used to read the newspaper to the workers. They didn't have TV or radio, so they hired the only guy in town who knew how to read. And he would read these novels, but first he would read the news. So he knew history from a contemporary standpoint. And from his reading of history, and he came to really love America. He taught me, one of the things he taught me is and my parents did too, but he really instilled this in me, was this idea that you are so privileged to be a citizen of this country. Do you understand that you're going to have opportunities to do things I never could? And the other thing he instilled in me is you are so privileged to be a citizen of the most important and powerful nation on this planet. At the time he was telling me that, he would tell me, this is the only thing standing in the way of global communism. This is the only thing that's keeping other countries from becoming like his homeland of Cuba. That's why he loved Ronald Reagan, and that's why he loved America. And it was a status that was not earned easily. This country's always faced great challenges, and each generation, people have had to make extraordinary sacrifices. I see here today men and women who have served us in uniform, and we thank you for your service. We are so grateful to you. There's never been a country like America in the history of the world. And yet, despite all this nation has achieved, there have always been people involved in American politics that had their doubts. And the faculty club at the universities, commentators on television, sometimes political candidates would say, America's not that different. Every country thinks they're special. Or they would argue, you know, America has done as much harm as good. It's gotten involved in these conflicts. It's hurt the world. It's done this. It's done that. There's always been voices like that. But in 2008, for the first time, one of them got elected president. And the last 7 years have been a disaster. Someone who doesn't have confidence in free enterprise. So today you have a record number of Americans dependent on government. Wages are flat. And a growing number of young Americans believe the American dream is lost. A growing number of Americans that feel out of place in their own country, left behind by the new economy, some labeled bigots and haters because they happen to hold traditional values. And around the world, our reputation severely damaged. Our allies literally no longer trust us because of our president. Our adversaries literally no longer respect us because of our president. And this destruction of our military and intelligence capabilities is so widespread, so insidious, that it almost strikes you as borderline deliberate, as if in an effort to bring humble America back down to size. As if to say America no longer needs to be that powerful because we're not going to be doing that much anymore. And we shouldn't, because we create more problems than we solve. And it's unfair and it's wrong that anybody in our party would join that thought process. The point is, this is the greatest country in the world. And one of the reasons I'm running for president is because I want our president not just to believe that, but to start acting like it. To start acting like it. Russia's an important country, but don't tell me they're as important as the United States. Our economy is $19 trillion large. Theirs is only $2 trillion. They have a lot of nuclear weapons, but their conventional capabilities are not on par with us. I understand that China's growing rapidly, that their future economically is to grow even more because they have so many people. But let me ask you this. If it was so great over there, why do all their rich people keep investing money here? And don't tell me we can't defeat this radical group of terrorists. Don't tell me if we truly confronted them that we couldn't defeat them. We don't have to do it on our own. Don't tell me the only choice is a massive invasion or nothing at all, because that isn't true. We can keep our country safe here at home, and we can defeat them abroad in conjunction with others that have like cause. But you know what all of that will take? It will take leadership. It will take, and what leadership means is a president, someone who is willing to go on the global stage and say, I know what the last 8 years have been like, but there's a new president now. A new president that understands America's role. America's role is not to do everything in the world or to solve all the world's problems, but we are the only nation capable of bringing other nations together to confront global challenges, and we will. We will rebuild our alliances in the Asia-Pacific region because we will ensure that China will not take over the most important shipping lane in the world, the South China Sea. We will reinvigorate NATO, so Vladimir Putin knows that if he tries to invade a NATO member or any other nation in Europe, the cost will outweigh the benefits. We will create a coalition in the Middle East with Sunni Arabs and others to confront and defeat this radical threat of ISIS and other jihadist groups. We will protect our homeland. We will do whatever it takes to ensure that people who want to strike America will not be able to reach us. And yes, that means that our refugee program will not be able to work the way it once did, because the world has changed. Because we have to be 100% right, and no one can guarantee you we will be 100% right. And so today we'll have to take a different approach to these issues because the world has changed. A president that will say, we will rebuild our military. We're not going to have the oldest and smallest Navy in our history. We're going to have one with capabilities it's never had before. We're going to... Our Air Force is going to have greater capabilities than it's ever had before. We're going to have cyber capabilities like, thank you, as a member of the Air Force. 38 years in the Air Force. Thank you for your service. Our intelligence programs are not going to violate the civil liberties of Americans, but it is going to find as many of these terrorists as possible. And if we capture them and they're a U.S. citizen, you're not going to be told you have the right to remain silent. You're going to be captured as an enemy combatant, and you will be interrogated, and we will gather information from you, and we will disrupt other terrorist plots. And you know what all that will mean? Send him to Guantanamo. Well, we're doing the opposite now. He's sending people out of Guantanamo. And some of them are now commanders in the fight against America again. Don't get me started. I get really fired up about that stuff. You know what all of this will mean? It will mean the world will not be perfect, but it will be safer, and it will be better. When America leads, the world is a safer and better place. And when it doesn't, the world is chaotic. And I'll make one more point. I should have made it earlier. We make a promise to our men and women in uniform that we will never put them in a fair fight. What that means is you will always have better equipment, better training, and better information than any adversary you will ever face. I will keep that promise as president. And when you come back after taking care of us, we will take care of you. We will have a VA system that works for you. Everyone running for president supports our veterans, but I'm the only one that's brought accountability to the VA. Last year, I passed a law that said if someone at the VA is not doing their job, you can fire them. There are really good people working at the VA, and we thank them. We'll promote them. We will fire the ones that aren't doing their jobs. And the VA benefits, they're going to follow the veteran, not the veteran have to follow the benefits. And so, I know that times are difficult. At home, we feel uncertain. Abroad, we feel insecure. This is a time of real anxiety. I recognize it. I know a couple that every New Year's, between Christmas and New Year's, they always take a trip. Everybody wants to know because they have the greatest trips that they take. This year, they're going nowhere. I asked them why. I said, we're afraid. All this ISIS stuff going on. They're casual observers of the news and politics, but they've heard enough. I know another lady I ran into a couple weeks ago. She said, I don't go to malls. I don't go to stadiums. I don't go anywhere where there's a lot of people to gather, just in case. People are afraid. It didn't help any that the president went on television and said, we've got this problem, and guess what? We're going to keep doing what we've always done. But we can get through this. We've done it before. We can do it again. This nation has always faced great challenges. When have we ever had it easy? We were founded by declaring independence from the most powerful empire in the world. That was hard. We had a civil war that almost ended this country. We had a First World War that was bloody. We had a Great Depression after that. And then we had a Second World War that in the early days wasn't sure we were going to win. Then we had a long and dangerous Cold War. The 1960s were a difficult time. The civil rights movement divided us regionally. Vietnam generationally. We've always had it hard because what we have is special. And anything that is special is difficult to achieve and to keep. And in each generation, they did what they needed to do. Each generation of Americans did what they needed to do to ensure that they left the country better off than the way it was left for them. And that is why this is the most important election in a generation. Because now the time has come for this generation to decide what kind of country will we leave behind. And we only have two choices. We can either leave our children as the freest and the most prosperous Americans that have ever lived, or we will be the first Americans that leave their children worse off than themselves. The road we are on right now will make us the first Americans that leave their children worse off than ourselves. If the next 4 years are anything like the last 7 years, if we just promote the next person in line, the most familiar name, we will be the first generation ever that leaves the next generation worse off. And I know none of you want to be a part of that. And so this election is about embracing a new path, a new direction, one that says that what we are going to do is whatever it takes to make this nation greater than it's ever been. Whatever it takes to give to our children what our parents gave to us, the chance at a better country and a better life. If we do what needs to be done, and as president, I will, we won't just save the American dream. We will expand it to reach more people and change more lives than ever before. If we do what needs to be done, the 21st century won't just be as good as the 20th century. It'll be better. It'll be a new American century if we do what needs to be done. And that's what we will do in this election. And you play such a critical part here in New Hampshire. You are one of the second state that pronounces itself the first primary in the nation. You play an extraordinary role, not just in choosing our nominee, but in choosing our president. And that's why I'm here today and why we're going to keep coming back and we're going to be here again next week. I want to earn your vote. I want to earn your support. I'm asking for it now, and I'll keep working on it until I either get it or you move to Massachusetts or something. And then I'll chase you down over there. Because in the end, I want to be president because this country owes me nothing. But I have a debt to this country I'll never repay. This country literally changed the history of my family. It gave me the chance to do things my parents only dreamed of. Had they not come here, I don't know what would have been of me. But I most certainly would not be standing in front of a room like this, aspiring to the highest office in the land. Like all of you, I have benefited from the extraordinary story of America, from its greatness around the world and its opportunities here at home. And with all my heart, I just want my kids to grow up and inherit the same kind of country. I just want my kids to be able to know the America I grew up in, the America that changed my parents' lives, the America that changed the world. I believe we owe that to them. For the greatest nation on earth was what we inherited. And that is what we must pass on. And that is what we will pass on if you will vote for me and I can earn your support. So God bless you and thank you.